Today I'm showing off the Sworksdesign Dripper. We got, Moonwake. We got our moon truck in the back, and then I asked Sheldon to give us some so that I can do it on the truck. And he did it.
Yeah, Sheldon hooked us up.
But we know Sheldon. So
Yeah. So Sheldon hooked me up with one of these. So we're going to show you guys pretty much how this works, give you guys our thoughts on using the S-Works Dripper for the past, month. We've been using it for a while.
I used it for a month.
Well, Harry will show you his recipe and his thoughts on it, and I'll show you guys my recipe because I've been brewing some really amazing coffees with the S-Works Dripper, and I think it's a fantastic dripper. So anyway, let's get right into it.
So let's go over like what comes with it really quick, right? So, it's just a flat bottom dripper. This is Triton, but he just changed it to something, so it's just as good. I don't know what he changed it to, but this is Palm or Delrin CNC'd. You see it has this S-Works logo. So how it works is that you have this portion with a screen. You can choose your screen.
Yeah, and you want to shop those.
It comes off with I forgot how many screens it comes with.
There are a lot of different screens, but
there's also additional we can buy, but these are the ones that come stock. So wait, what do you have another one?
Oh yeah, we have another one.
But we like this 10 millimeter one the most, but then there's all these other ones.
Yeah, so like each of the screens basically influences, in my experience, kind of like the capillary action. So like if your paper filter and the bed of coffee is sitting down here, the amount of your flow is going to change between each of these screens because of the difference in surface area. So this is helpful in certain senses of if you want to pull out, say, more acidity, or you want to change the different flow rate of your coffees. There are a lot of different options here. I don't think we're going to go over every single one of them, but we've tried most of them, and we've landed at this one to just like this one.
It's just like it has the most balance in like capillary and also like openness. Right?
Yeah, so it flows really, really fast. We'll talk a little bit more about screens, but let's keep looking at what this
So this is a needle valve. It's a 2-piece threaded on. So you can see I'm like opening it up now, but it can actually come apart. And this is what it looks like in between.
Yeah. So the reason why we like this screen, or what you can do with the screens, is essentially because you have the needle valve, you can control the flow rate. The way that I think about it is I pick the screen with the most flow rate, and I control the flow more so with the needle valve rather than the actual screen. But also, there are so many different screens, and one is not necessarily better than the rest. I just want the most control, so I go to give me the most flow rate, and I change the flow rate with the actual needle valve.
If I wanted to use this for medium dark, I would probably put like a slower one.
Yeah. So there's like ones that have less holes, and your flow is going to be a lot slower. So if you're brewing medium, dark, and all of that, it'll give you that larger body. But.
And also, S-Works sells their own filter paper, wave filters. These are much better than the most common ones you can buy. They feel great, like when you touch.
Look at how rigid they are. This is something that's really nice. These, they flow really fast. They also don't really clog. So that's one big thing with Kalitas is, as you get your Kalitas, where they sit, depending on where the pack is, there's many variances.
All right, so that's just the basics of this, and we'll go over how I brew this. And of course, we're at Moonwake, so. We're gonna brew some of my coffee, the coffee I chose. No, look, I actually chose it. It's the Oosi Nare Ethiopia Landrace Natural. We just released it. It's a very clean natural. We just released it. The regular white version is available, but my version, I don't know when this video is gonna come out, probably is too early, but my version of it, the Kimoi Ultralight, will be out soon.
Right, we gotta plug his version of the coffee, but so that's just the overview of this. Let's go and brew some coffee now. For those of you guys who actually follow along these videos, we have kind of two versions of these coffees at times. There is the regular roast profile, and then there is the Ultra edition, which is...
it's already really light, but some of these coffees, like, we don't normally do it, but like some of these coffees work so well when you like push the roast like that.
Yeah. Look at how light those are. So what's your dose on this?
I'm probably gonna do like a 1 to 17 for this.
With what, 12 grams?
I'm gonna try to share this with people, so I'm gonna do like 14 grams.
Okay.
14 to, my goal is gonna be like 14 to, no, 15, 14 to 240, so that's like 1 to 17.
Yeah, so on this dripper, I tend to like it for single cups. I think it's an amazing single cup dripper because you get the really fast flow that you could get out of something like an Oria, but you have more control because of the immersion aspects of it. So you can start to bring in some immersion in there. I'll talk a little bit more about that as I brew the coffee for my recipe, but it is a smaller dripper. I like to really use things around 10 to 18 grams. So a little bit on the lower side for a single cup, but a really amazing single cup.
I grind pretty coarse.
Harry and I have very different brewing styles as well. So you guys will be able to see two different recipes that we've been playing around with.
But it's probably, you're gonna see similarities for sure.
This dripper does behave quite similarly across the brewing styles because of how the valve works.
And also, I wasn't on pour over today, so I don't know where that was. But, you know, we're familiarity with all the SSP98s. We have SSP98s here.
Yeah, but the thing is if you're on the coarser side, it doesn't really matter too much because you can just control things with the needle valve. So this is a very forgiving dripper in terms of making really good coffee. Your lows, your lows are very, very good. So your average cup quality is much higher than I would say something like a Kalita or even an April because you have significant control over your flow rate and the amount of steeping time and immersion. So while the water is heating up, I want to talk a little bit more about some other stuff. I actually have tended to prefer this over things like the Next Level Pulsar because I actually really like, I like some aspects of immersion, but I also quite like the ability to get really close and get very high kettle agitation. So I can pour really close into there and get some of those aspects of immersion that something like the Next Level Pulsar will give me, but I can get more acidity because of that higher agitation. So that's my personal preference. But anyway, let's go and actually brew. So what do you have here?
So I'm going to show, I am the one who designed this one for Sheldon. He let me do this for him. It's the Oosi for the S-Works. So how I do it is I have it kind of ready to be pressed, and then you just press it in. And then in a newer version, you'll have to wet the filter a little just to make sure it works. If you don't have holes on here, I have an updated version where there's holes here.
Yeah. So for you guys who have the S-Works design dripper, we'll have Harry here. Kimoi will have the updated version of the Negotiator. But yeah, you can see.
Nicely folded.
Well, Kimoi will have the updated version of the.
So the workflow will be just slightly better, and then there's still a little bit of water. You just tap it out. So now that's ready, my water is ready. Move these drippers. So right now I'll close the valve because I'm going to do a 20-second steep bloom.
And your dose is 14.
So about 14 to 240 is about 1 to 17. Mm-hmm. My water is at 96 because this is an Ethiopian coffee. So my immersion is just more so to get the bloom very efficient. First pour is going to be to 60. And then
you like to use.
I do this for the first one. The first one, shoot the fines out. Done. Then once it's around 20, 19, 20, you open it up just a little, as slow as possible, and then just a little more.
Yeah, so you can see that the flow, even when the valve is open a little, is still very, very fast because of that screen pattern over here.
So I'm waiting till 45 because with the steeped bloom, it's super efficient at blooming it. And now I'm just going to do very light, slow pour up to another 60 in. And then flatten the bed.
And you can see the flow is still so fast.
And I'm actually a little scared that this might be flowing a little slow, so I'm going to open it
so
up a little more.
Yeah, so that's the thing is when you're brewing, you could fix things or adjust things to accomplish whatever flow rate you want because you have the needle valve. So it's incredibly forgiving in terms of if you're off on your grind size or if you're trying to dial in a coffee for the first time. And this is also kind of our first time brewing this coffee today.
Yeah, we didn't have this on bar, but we will eventually. So I'm going to pour another 60 grams. I usually kind of wait until there's like too much. There's like a gap between the sides that ride up and the water bed level. And then after every pour, I will do a little bit of a swirl. So that's why I like do low agitation pours. So you can like swirl a little so that I'm not like adding too much agitation.
Yeah. But the flow is still insanely fast, consistent, even with the aggressive agitation. You know, like you're agitating a lot for flat bottom, right?
Yeah. And like, I'm just doing a 4 equal pours. I found that to be really good with the acidity because like you're blooming with so much.
Yeah, so you already very efficiently extract everything. And that's the advantage of having the needle valve when you're opening and closing it for the bloom. But you just need to be a little careful with that. And we could talk a little bit more about that as well.
Go to 240.
There you go. Look at how even that looks. Wow.
And then it's like, my target's around 330 with this dose.
Yeah, so you can really push coffees because you can just change the rate at which your flow rate just like that. I guess while this is drying down, we can talk a little bit about our experience with the initial pour and steeping. So because it's so efficient at steeping, you can do two things. You can pour significantly less amount of water for your bloom. So for example, on some of these lighter roast coffees, you can just like let it steep for a very long period of time and pour, maybe like 1.5 to 2 your initial dose and let it steep there. But you just need to be careful with the amount of time you bloom. I find if you let it sit there and the valve is closed for more than 35 to 40 seconds, it kind of muddies things, or you get too much immersion taste at times.
Yeah. So like, a lot of what I've heard is like, if you want like that V60 style acidity, keep it up to 20 seconds of steeped blooming. And this is running a little slow, so you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna I'm just gonna cut it off.
Yeah, so all of that would be like astringent or bad tasting coffee. Well, now you can just literally close the valve. So this is an example of like, okay, first time we're brewing a coffee, if you mess up, well, just do that. And now you've saved a brew. And it probably still tastes pretty good.
You should smell the brew.
Oh my God, it smells great.
Yeah, but so that's how I brew it.
Mm-hmm. And then you can see it's like there's a little bit of liquid left there, and the valve is closed.
And if you're done doing it right, I'm not really dialed on using this burr set. So like there's more fines in this one. I should have agitated less.
Right.
That's just dialing basics.
Yeah, but still, like you can save your brew. You just have so much control over what you can do that it doesn't. If you're brewing at home, this is probably fine.
We want some of this here.
Wow, this coffee smells crazy.
It's so good. Actually, you just chose it. Well, I mean, like, there's so much hype about the original.
So you poured a lot of low agitation, a lot of different pours, and you didn't extend the ratio out so far because it was flowing a little too slow. So you saved it.
Yeah.
And now let's give it a taste. That's interesting.
This coffee is a little fresh right now, so you do get a little bit of muddiness.
Super sweet though.
Yeah.
And it's very, very balanced of a brew. I like that there's acidity in this. Personally, I like things to be more acid forward.
Well, it's like if I dialed it in properly, right?
Yeah, you could get it to be acid forward.
Maybe I even should have cut it off earlier, and that's why it's muddy even
there's a little more muddiness. I'm nitpicking here. When I say muddy, it's like it could be clear, but it's not really, muddy in the sense that it actually tastes like mud, or it's...
Yeah, it's like a clarity. Yeah. It's not giving you a clear stone fruit presentation out of it.
But it's still there, and I still taste the immersion aspect. Like the way I would describe a lot of these flat bottom drippers that flow very fast is there is defined acidity.
Yeah.
and there's like a really big weight to it. But with this, because you have that immersion aspect of it, there is that weight to that acidity, but there's maybe a little more stuff around it, a little more body, a little more rounding on it.
It's like a little more
Good.
balance, basically.
Yeah, so the amount of balance you can get is, well, you know, how muddy you make things is just dependent on how long
And
you
also, it's just
immerse
like,
it.
you know, we pressed the filters, so now it's like low bypass. I think, you know, when I do it every time, it looks so nice on the dripper.
Yeah, it does look good. Yeah. So now I'm going to brew, and I'll show you guys my recipe, which is very different. I think it's very different than what you guys just saw, and you can see if you like it or not. If you own one of these, try these out. But a lot of these drippers are now coming out where they're similar in the sense where you have some sort of way to control your flow rate throughout each pour, or you have a way to go full immersion on certain things. So I'm going to brew now, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. All right, I'm going to brew now, and I will show you my recipe versus Harry's recipe, but we're going to brew this coffee. This has been fantastic. It is the L1 Lugma Pata from Say. Such a fire coffee. It's fire. It's so loud of a coffee. You didn't hear me say any of these things.
I said that.
I have this pre-negotiated, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do kind of a basic 12 to 200 recipe. So I've actually quite enjoyed a lot of the lower dosages on here. As much as I like 12 grams in something like an April, I can push coffee significantly harder in the S-Works dripper. And I guess I'll use the same grind size as Harry. When I look at these needle valve drippers, I feel like they're definitely more grind size agnostic at times. If I'm grinding too fine, if I'm grinding too coarse, I have so much control over what I'm doing. I'll open it slow, so it's slow feeding.
I don't know.
If that matters with an EK.
Use a knocker? Yeah.
You guys have this knocker here? Okay, cool. I like to brew, say, at boiling, as many of you guys know. The cool thing with this is you can preheat it, and it's very efficient at preheating if you were into any sort of preheating at all, because you can just open and close the valve whenever. So like this, see, I could have had that run the entire time or preheated however I wanted to. So, yeah, anyway.
No, my coffee.
Your coffee. So I got 12 grams here. And I actually probably could have ground this finer. So this is an example of like, okay, I don't think it's as fine, but what I'll do is I'll just change the actual valve immersion time. And I've tended to actually like 30, 35 seconds, whereas like, you know, Harry was doing, I think, 20 to 25 second steeps. This is 12 grams, and I keep the pouring pattern the exact same as I do with a lot of the April stuff. This is 50 in here, and it's super efficient at extracting. And what I like to do is I actually like to open and push for the faster flow rates. And this is kind of like how I actually brew something like an Oria and push for higher extractions, even with these really lighter roast coffees. So we're gonna go open it up now. We're at 30 seconds, 31 seconds. So I've opened it up significantly more than what Harry has opened it up for. You see the flow rate is really, really fast. And then what I'm gonna do is I just try to pour very aggressively, and I keep this a 4-pour pattern. So 50, 50, 50, high agitation, each of the pours. So the first pour is really where I'm bringing in a little bit of that immersion, but the rest of it is all very high agitation. So at 115, I'm just gonna pour, or like 110 basically, because I'm a little coarse here.
So much water at once.
Yeah, I like to pour really, really fast. So about like every 15 to 20 seconds, I just add the 50 grams in there. And then at the end, I'm going to do a aggressive swirl and tap, because that's just like how I brew Say now.
Yeah, and our traffic isn't really that good. Up to your right.
200. And then I just give it a little swirl. So the only first part of where I actually take advantage of the needle valve is just for a little bit of that immersion aspect. So let me quickly talk about how does this taste different than an Oria if you brewed the same way. Because you do a little bit of that immersion at the beginning, there seems to be that slightly larger body across the cup, but the loudness of the acidity, or like the impact of acidity that you get out of a fast flowing flat bottom, is still going to be in there, but there's going to be a little bit more rounding in each of the notes. And I think that's what's fun. Like, that's what makes this S-Works dripper taste different than like an Oria or any of these. But yeah, you know, it is done. Get that. And I'm just closing it up now.
That bed.
Yep, the bed is pretty flat. There you go. So that was about a 2.5 minute brew. A lot of that extraction is just happening because of the initial steep, but also the crazier full tilt agitation. So I don't know, we can give this a little taste now. Wow, this coffee smells great. This coffee's so loud. So the difference between this recipe and Harry's recipe is this is going to be much more acid forward instead of a more like balanced, bigger body, or like blendier body, if that makes sense. But there is a little bit of that muddiness from immersion that exists in this cup. And that's because of the initial steep. And with this, you can also extend the recipe out to like 205 to 210. Very
It's
vibrant.
exactly what I remember how it tastes. What does the Q grader say?
Yeah, what does the Q grader say?
Super complex acidity.
Oh, you just read off the card.
There's too many words. I just blanked out. Very velvety body. Super juicy.
Yeah.
This is more acid forward than like
Yes.
most of our stuff, I feel like.
Yeah, so that's just how I brew a lot of the pour overs. Is I like to do high agitation, high kettle agitation, and usually high physical agitation as well, and that really helps push up all that acidity up front.
Yeah.
But because we have that immersion at the beginning, we get that more like rounding, velvety body, and
Yeah, that
you know,
helped
it
the
tastes
body a
good.
lot, but it's,
Yeah.
it's super like mouth watering.
That's the difference between my recipe and Harry's recipe right there. There you go.
This is a great coffee.
No, this is a really great coffee.
Guess the varietal. Yeah.
That is.
Here's this Lugma Pata, the people who beat Cruz Loma.
Lugma Pata, the greatest coffee. L1 is great. So yeah, we have 2 different recipes for the S-Works Design Dripper. Obviously, we have all these different screens, and if you guys want us to see us try all these different screens at a later date, we can do that.
Yeah, we have 2.
But we have 2 of them, so we can actually try them. But I've tested a few of these, and I still think this one is the best one, although I don't know if you guys want that type of content. But yeah, 2 different recipes, the S-Works Design Dripper, also just closer stuff on the S-Works Design Dripper as well. So for those guys who picked it up, try out our recipes. Let us know what you guys think about each of them. But otherwise, thanks, Harry, for holding the camera, being in the video. And also thanks, everyone, for watching the video. Yeah, just a quick video on the S-Works Dripper. Thanks, Sheldon. See you guys later.